All right, question of the day. What's your favorite miniatures fighting game? Because today we're taking a look at, this is more of an overview first look rather than a full review of Eldfall Chronicles. This is a fantasy world with kind of an Eastern flair to it. There's a lot of really, really cool factions in which you're measuring and fighting, and all the units have stats and stuff like that, and the miniatures are great. So let's take a look at how Eldfall Chronicles really quickly plays in a brief overview, because there's obviously a lot of more meat on the bone. That'd be like trying to do a review of Warhammer 40k and just talking about surface level, because you know each of the units are going to change what actually happens in the gameplay.
Alright, this is Eldfall Chronicles, set up for a basic mission, very intro mission. I want to show you first of all, these miniatures are just absolutely fantastic looking. There's a kind of a maxature that comes in this one. It's very nice looking miniatures there. Very cool. A little assembly required with some glue, but everything looks really great. Where's the one in particular? Yeah, this one's my favorite model. Sitting on like this floating magic carpet sort of thing from the Temple of the Palace of Sand, Kingdom of Sand. Really cool. But anyways, essentially you're going to be playing a mission with all the terrain that it provides you here. You can set it up on the map, and there's other terrain, obviously, with different things. The factions are kind of based loosely on almost like Greece, Japan, the Middle East, and places like that. And so you can get different terrain. It comes with this in the box, but the terrain can be, anything. And you can go to town building up this game. It's a miniatures game with measurements, things like that. So you're going to measure out your movement. So let's just say your movement is 5. Well, this is 6 for this whole thing. So your movement for 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd measure from the base and then move your character there. You have things like spells and auras, that this would be, the extent of an aura of a spell. You have splash damage for a spell, see if something's going to hit and splash out who can be hit by it. All sorts of things like that. You have ranged attack, movement attacks, but one really neat mechanic is this notion of a reaction. So on your turn, you're going to have 2 actions up to your stamina, but also other players will be on the reaction, which means that if you were to cross, let's just say these were an opposing fight site right here, okay? And let's just say this was the movement. Now, here and here are out of line of sight, but in the middle of the movement from here to here, you pass in front of this range. Let's say he has a ranged attack. This attacker's range or a line of sight. You can then call for an action or reaction in the middle of that to shoot essentially while he's on the run. Now to lower your attack value and to lower things like that, but it's kind of neat that it allows you to do things on opponents' turns instead of letting them just skirt past you. There are a ton of different things like traits and skills and spells and all sorts of things that really add to the flavor of the characters, as well as stratagems, fighting styles, all sorts of things like that. It plays a lot like an RPG, but essentially that's an overview of how you're going to play. You're going to measure, you're going to move, you're going to fight, you're going to try to beat the other opponents, you're going to try to capture objectives, things like treasure. You can move up, you can get better and more permanent abilities and things like that. That is Eldfall Chronicles.
All right, first and foremost, impressions of this. It looks incredible. The miniatures are some of the best miniatures I've seen. Not too terribly hard to assemble. I hate super gluing miniatures. I literally hate it. Like, I gave my copy of Crisis Protocol and Shatterpoint to a friend of mine, said, here, please do this so we can play this. And he loves doing that. So I hate it. But this was not too bad. The pieces fit together nicely. When you glue them, it makes sense where they go. The only tricky part are a couple arms are a little bit hard. But once you just have them there for a second, let them set. Really great. But the miniatures look good. All the different factions have a very distinct flair to them, and they look incredible. The couple things that are really well thought out in this, the measuring tool makes sense. You're measuring versus using squares on a board. Could you use squares? Yeah, I'm more preferential to squares like HeroClix and HeroScape and things like that. But does it matter? Not so much, because the measuring works really well and the tools they give you are really well. Let's talk about the other components in the box. First of all, the terrain is really nice. Like, you get great terrain in which you can do vertical jumps and things like that. It's always great when a game has terrain that involves vertical distances and includes it in the main set. There's some games, like even Crisis Protocol, the very first one, had minimal like vertical distances, even though that's a main part of the game. So to me, this is really nice that it comes with this in the main core set here with these 4 factions, or I have, the main 2 and then a couple more. And then the terrain pieces are so nice. The map could look a little better, but the terrain and the miniatures makes up for it. So I think that looks really great. Gameplay wise, it's pretty smooth. It's pretty buttery what you can do. And also they do this really interesting thing with reactions. And the illustration given in the rule book to me is probably one of the coolest, where it shows somebody running past the sight of an archer. And in that moment of that arc where the archer could see the person, you can make that shot with the archer as a reaction. To me, that's really cool. And it really adds to the immediacy of a battle, as opposed to, well, yeah, kind of, you're in a battle, but you wait and take your turn and I'll take mine. Just like Final Fantasy, 6 or Chrono Trigger. It's like, I'm going to get you when you attack me. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are certain things when we play JRPGs on the Super Nintendo that we go, well, yeah, I get it. But this one actually kind of makes up for that, where it feels like an RPG or like a PvP type thing, but there are things that make sense to the immediacy of what would really be happening. If someone runs past your vision, even though it's not your turn, you can take a shot at them, and that's really cool. So the actions and reactions were really well thought out. All in all, I think this game has legs. I don't know that a ton of people have seen it. It came in a box that Tom sent me to review, and I really, really am excited about where this game goes from here. Definitely a lifestyle game. You're going to want to invest in the time to pick your armies and make your armies right, and then fight them and find people to play against. So it's a really, really interesting concept. That's Eldfall Chronicles. I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow on Instagram, X, all that at Dice Tower Bryan. And make sure to check out the Dice Tower store for the brand new slate of shirts we just released this spring. Very excited about that. And make sure to go back to the Dice Tower on GameFound right now.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel.